Good evening. I would like to begin by reading a poem by me, about me. But before I do, I think that I should warn you, there will be swearing. In fact, there's going to be a lot of swearing. See, that's how I express myself, profanely, crudely, obscenely, offensively, in a direct, no-holds-barred, take-no-prisoners kind of way. And if you can't handle that, well, hey, you're welcome to leave. I mean, no one's holding you here against your will. Yeah, there's the door. No, not there. No, it's at the other end of the room. Okay, now turn left. Okay, you see the door? No. That's the door to the men's room. Yeah, you see the little stick figure drawing of the man on it? You see the word men underneath that? You see the sign underneath that that says restrooms are for customers only? That's because that's the door to the men's room. The exit is next to it. No, to the right. No, the other right! Oh my God! It has the word exit in big red letters above it! Are you blind, or do you just not know how to read? You know what? Why don't you just come back and sit down, and when I'm done, I will show you where the exit is. No, I can't do it now. I'm about to read my poem. Yes, the one with all the swearing in it. Yes, I understand that the reason you want to leave now is so that you won't have to sit through my poem and listen to all the swearing. But you know what? There's a very good chance that the next poet who comes up here is also going to read a poem that has swearing in it. Poets often use profanity. It's a very effective form of expression. And I'll tell you something else. You want to go to poetry readings, you better lose that easily offended sensibility of yours. Poetry ain't beanbag, baby. Poetry is life. And in life, people swear. And I'll tell you something else. Poets like to reflect that. They like to confront the readers of their poems with the raw, ugly language of real people living real lives. The poetry of the street, the poetry of the modern world, of profound confusion, of moral ambiguity, of existential angst, of corruption of the soul. And you expect a poet to express that without swearing? No, I'm sorry. You're in the wrong place. And there's the door. No, not there, other end of the room. Now turn left. No, that's the door to the men's room. It's the door on the right. No, it's the other right. You know what? Hold on. I'll be right there. Oh, hello. Is that a gun? Are you pointing a gun at me? Are you mugging me? Is this a mugging? Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of this. You want all my money, right? Do you take checks? No, of course you don't. I'm sorry. I'm new at this. I've never been mugged before. I'm a crime victim virgin. What's that? You're sorry? You're only mugging me because you're on drugs? You need money to buy drugs, and that's your excuse for mugging me? Oh, okay, well, I'll let you in with a little secret. I'm on drugs too. In fact, I'm stoned and drunk right now. In fact, if I wasn't so stoned and drunk right now, I could have just opened the front door of my apartment building and gotten inside before you even had a chance to mug me. The only reason that you're even able to mug me is because I'm so stoned and drunk right now. In fact, if I wasn't so stoned and drunk right now, I could just reach out with my left hand and grab your gun while using my right hand to push you down the stairs, and then you would be lying in a crumpled heap at the bottom of the stairs while I went inside and called the police, who would come and scoop you up and take you away. as the media descended upon my street, wanting to learn the story of the citizen who refused to be a victim and who acted out the fantasy of anyone who has ever been violated by a street thug. No offense. Books would be written about me. TV movies would tell my story, and bumper stickers with phrases like, "Don't harass Alan Harris," would adorn cars. But, because I'm so stoned and drunk right now, none of that's going to happen, so, spare me your lame excuses. You know, just take my, my money and my dignity and my innocence and my sense of security, my sense of well-being, and my belief in the basic goodness of all people and in a just and balanced universe, and fuck off! Besides, we both know that drugs are not an excuse. They're a symptom. Class warfare, institutional racism, a society plagued by rampant materialism, a media that lies, and corruption eating away at every level of our government have conspired to force you to mug me. America stole my $18, not you. But, hey, thanks for listening, Mr. Mugger, and, have a good night. Dear Mr. Harris, our records indicate that your account is now 90 days past due. Our records also indicate that you have ignored our repeated requests to bring your account up to date. Now, Mr. Harris, you may see us as a huge and faceless corporation which provides services to millions of people, and you may think that as long as the majority of these people pay their bills on time and in full, that a handful of people, such as yourself, Mr. Harris, can just slide, ignoring the contractual obligation that you have made to our company. But let us assure you, Mr. Harris, that while we are indeed a huge corporation, we are anything but faceless. In fact, we employ thousands of faces, faces which belong to people whose lives, nay, whose very existences depend on you honoring your commitment to us. People like Director of Personnel Jack Stevens, who has a wife and 4 children and 2 mortgages and a summer home in the Hamptons and a 40-foot sailboat, which is, incidentally, his only means of communing with nature. An environment which, in the highly pressurized and completely dehumanizing hustle and bustle of daily urban life, is all that stands between him and complete and utter madness. People like Customer Service Representative Rose Fernandez, single mother and sole means of support for bright-eyed and delightful little 14-month-old Michael Fernandez, whose young life is in your hands, Mr. Harris. For you see, Mr. Harris, when you entered into a contractual obligation with our company, you not only made a commitment to a corporate entity, but you took partial responsibility for the lives of fellow human beings. In short, we are not just a corporation of huge proportions and vast holdings. We are America. And if you feel that it is unnecessary for you to honor your commitment to America, well then why don't you just move to China? Yeah, that's it. Why don't you just move to China, Mr. Harris? And then maybe after you've had a taste about the Chinese deal with people who refuse to conform, who refuse to toe the party line, who refuse to contribute to the greater good, maybe after you've spent a decade rotting in a Chinese prison, completely isolated, starved nearly to death, and totally forgotten by everyone who has ever known you, well then maybe you'll appreciate how little we asked of you! Don't get us wrong, Mr. Harris. This has gone far beyond us merely interrupting your service or reporting you to a credit agency like Experian. Oh, no. We have plans for you, Mr. Harris. Oh, yes. We're going to make an example of you. For you see, Mr. Harris, as we are a corporation of huge proportions and vast holdings, we can affect your life in ways that you could never even imagine. And if you think we're bluffing, well, bear in mind that a certain female presidential candidate didn't pay her bill either. Russian intervention, our ass, Mr. Harris. So you see, Mr. Harris, if you fuck with us, you get burned. If you have any questions regarding this letter, please contact our accounting department. And may you rot in hell. I am a server in a seafood restaurant. I have a guest who tells me that he wants to order one of the non-seafood items on our menu, a steak. And he explains to me that the reason that he's ordering a steak is because he is deathly allergic to seafood. And therefore his steak must be prepared in such a way as to not come in contact with anything that has also come in contact with seafood. It must be prepared on a surface, cooked on a surface in which no seafood has ever been cooked. The utensils used to prepare the steak must have never been used to prepare seafood. The plate on which the steak is to be served must have never been used to serve seafood. That his allergy to seafood is so severe that if his steak comes in contact with anything that has ever at any time in the history of the world also come in contact with seafood, no matter how many times that thing has been washed, he could die. Now, have I mentioned that I'm a server? What used to be called a waiter before political correctness demanded that the terms waiter and waitress be replaced by the non-gender specific term server? That I am a server of food and not a medical professional, not a doctor, not a nurse, not an EMT. That I'm someone who merely serves food to people. And yet, despite my lowly station in life, this man feels that it is entirely appropriate for him to put his life into my hands, to place on my shoulders the burden of keeping him alive, to be the only thing standing between him and almost certain death by seafood. In a seafood restaurant! Maybe, I think, he doesn't realize that he's in a seafood restaurant. Maybe the fact that almost every item on the menu is some sort of seafood doesn't make it apparent enough to him that he is, in fact, in a seafood restaurant. Maybe the decor, which includes life preservers and life jackets and fishing nets and fishing poles and even fish mounted on the walls, as well as paintings of fishermen at sea actually fishing, along with fish tanks and lobster tanks and an oyster bar and a sushi bar. Maybe none of these things is enough to alert this man to the fact that he is, in fact, in a seafood restaurant. The one place that a person like him, someone with an allergy to seafood so severe that just taking a photograph of him with a camera that has a fish eye lens on it could kill him, should never go into. I mean, does he have some sort of death wish? What if he does? What if he knows very well that he's in a seafood restaurant? And he's given me this impossible mission because he wants me to fail at it. If so, what the fuck? I mean, if you want to kill yourself, why drag me into it? You know, take an overdose of sleeping pills or jump off the Golden Gate Bridge like a normal person. You know, don't hatch an elaborate plot that hinges on the failure of some poor, pathetic food server to carry out an unrealizable task. Waiting tables is stressful enough without a body count to contend with. Finally, I have to ask, excuse me, sir, but if you're so dangerously allergic to seafood, why would you even risk walking into a seafood restaurant, let alone ordering food in one? He points at the two people sitting at the table with him. My friends wanted seafood. Oh, your friends wanted seafood. Well, may I suggest that if these two people were really your friends, that they would be willing to forego seafood for one night so that you could have a fighting chance of living through the meal? I mean, you'd think that if they were really your friends, that they wouldn't want you to risk your life just because they're in the mood for crab cakes. You know, I don't actually say this, I just think it. What I actually say is, you know, there's no way that I can guarantee your safety, sir. It's then that he asks to speak to the manager, who thankfully assigns the table to another server, as he feels that my relationship with this particular guest has deteriorated due to my excessive concern for his well-being. With all the condescension he can muster, the manager suggests to me that, you know, maybe food server isn't the right profession for you, since you obviously can't handle the pressures that come with the job. I suggest to him that, well, maybe someone working for tips shouldn't be put in the position of having to safeguard someone else's entire existence. The next day, I apply for a job with the post office. Because the post office provides a valuable service, has room for advancement, is the largest employer of union workers in the country, go unions. And as far as I know, no one is allergic to the mail. As far as I know.